Today's Daily Dose of Math is example 2 of converting from general to standard form with a quadratic equation. Example 2, like example 1, is one of the more simple examples because the numerical coefficient of the x squared term is 1. When it's not 1, there are a couple of extra steps. But when the numerical coefficient of x squared is 1, this is the procedure we have to follow. First, we rewrite the equation, putting the first two terms inside a bracket and leaving space to write a third term. But we keep the constant term, the plus 9 in this case, outside of the bracket. Then we have to do a little trick to figure out what number we're going to put into that extra space. We look at the coefficient of x. Half of that coefficient, in this case half of 3, is 3 halves. And then we square the result that we get. Half of 3 is 3 halves, and 3 halves squared is 9 quarters. That's the number that we need to add in that empty space we left. We add 9 quarters in there. But if we're going to add 9 quarters in one part of the equation, we have to balance it off by subtracting the same amount from another part of the equation. So therefore, we're subtracting 9 quarters over here. Now we just have to simplify our equation. What's in the bracket is a perfect square and can be factored easily using the simple trinomial method to get x plus 3 halves times x plus 3 halves. And 9 minus 9 quarters is 27 quarters. The shortcut for the factoring is the value we found when we cut the numerical coefficient of x in half is the value that we put inside the bracket. Now, of course, some students really don't like dealing with fractions and would prefer to use decimals. So I'm going to do the same example over again, but this time I'm going to use decimals just to show that it really does work the same way. We rewrite the equation so the first two terms are inside a bracket and keep the other term outside the bracket. Half of 3 is 1.5 in decimal form, and 1.5 squared is 2.25. So we rewrite the equation adding 2.25 inside the bracket. But we have to balance that out by subtracting 2.25 outside of the bracket. That gives us this. We now have our perfect square trinomial, which can easily be factored to give x plus 1.5 times x plus 1.5. The 9 and the minus 2.25 combine to give 6.75. Of course, the shortcut for the factoring is the 1.5 we found earlier is what we need inside the bracket in our binomial that is being squared. That is today's Daily Dose of Math. Please like, subscribe, and share.